This is the Sports Authority, 107.7 WNSA.
To set the stage.
Understand that in addition to all the confusion that the refugees are causing, that they've been knocking off communications. But one of the interesting things about this is that they haven't been knocking down houses if they can possibly avoid it. I don't know what they're trying to accomplish. Apparently they're more interested in knocking out communications and power systems. Jeff, do me a favor, will you? Yeah, go ahead. Call my wife and tell her I'm okay, would you please? Will do, as soon as I can.
There you have Jeff Kaye and Irv Weinstein.
Chills.
Did you notice that was the voice of Irv Weinstein? And here's the voice of Jeff Kaye live this morning. Good morning, Jeff.
Good morning. I'm still trying to make that call. She won't get off the phone.
Right.
Beautiful.
And we pointed out earlier this morning, Jefferson Kaye, who rewrote War of the Worlds. And actually, you tried to pre-record it, didn't you, with us, the staff members acting as actors?
Yeah, we did. The first thing we tried to do was to broadcast the original, but what we could find of it was just pieces of it. It wasn't in its entirety. It was on a disc from Columbia. Then we got the script, and the script was kind of, the language was old. You know, it was the 30th anniversary. So we upgraded the script to reflect modern language, but none of the guys could act, and it sounded
I resent that, although actually I represent that.
It sounded a little hokey. So we decided that it took the next big leap, and that was to position it out of Grover's Mills, New Jersey, and put it on Grand Island.
Mm-hmm.
And
a fitting place.
Yeah, and because we had guys that were not trained actors, we decided, well, you know, these people are used to ad-libbing all the time, so we prepared basically fact sheets. And we would give a man a fact sheet and say, this is where you are, this is what we want to have happen, and this is where we want you to end. No time limit, just go ahead and do it. And that's the way it actually worked. We made minor changes in what they did just to keep the accuracy of the thing going. But other than that, it was basically 3 times through with the last one being ad-libbed. And that was a successful one.
Now, you know, I've told a few people that I had a part in the War of the Worlds, your script of War of the Worlds, not the 1938 one. And Bob Kuczynski, who is a historian of the piece, said, no, you didn't. And I thought, and then I realized when I read the history that I wound up on the cutting room floor because you went almost live with it.
Well, we were basically kind of live, but a lot of guys did wind up on the cutting room floor because the news people kind of rose to the top,
right,
and took the dominant part of it.
Before you killed them off.
Right, one at a time.
Yeah, that was neat.
Yeah.
A program director's dream, right?
What? I couldn't afford to lose you, Stan. So.
Yes, but I had an example earlier this morning about why people panicked all over the place, including locally, even though you warned them hour after hour that you were going to do this. And that's because the way you did it, and we had the record playing, you know, the Cream, and then all of a sudden interrupted with a big traffic emergency on Grand Island, condition red, and then back to the Sandy Beach show, and it sounded like, gee,
as though nothing was wrong.
Right, as though it was really happening, in other words.
Well, that's the way they did it with the real one, too. With the original, they had the... the soapbox ballroom where they were broadcasting music, and they would cut away to this professor in Connecticut and so forth. And we followed the time progression and the time compression right on down the line. Yeah. But it's really funny because for 21 days we told people what we were going to do. We wrote to every emergency and police authority in 7 counties and warned them on 3 different press releases what was going to happen. We wrote to all the newspapers, and we got space in all those newspapers telling people exactly what it was we were going to do. And one of the funny anecdotes that I remember was I got a call the next day from a man who was on his way home from work. And it was October, and, Halloween and daylight saving had come and gone. We were on Eastern time, and it was dark. And he was crossing the Grand Island Bridge when the military blew it up.
Oh.
He told me, the hair stood up on the back of my neck.
Oh, sure.
I knew what you guys were doing, but I fully expected to get wet.
Man, oh, man.
Wow.
And then we had another guy come to the studio with a baseball bat who was going to beat the hell out of Danny Kriegler and I because he was on his way down the highway to see what was going on and crashed his car.
Oh, okay. He was just so upset.
The actual results.
He wanted to be. He wanted to be a witness. In other words.
Yeah, he wanted to see what was going on. He crashed his car, and so he figured he'd come down and beat us up.
Now, tell us about the reaction at the station that night as it went on.
It was incredible. Just incredible. The phone lines were closed. The switchboard was closed. And for some reason or other, some electronic genie got in there, and the phone started to ring at about 11:45. Mm-hmm. And they just kept ringing, and I kept answering, and people were in absolute panic. Mm-hmm. And it became very obvious to me that they didn't understand what a dramatization meant. So I ran into the studio and told Kriegler I had to have the microphone, and I had to calm things down. And Kriegler said, "Over my dead body," and we almost came to blows. I literally walked over in front of the tape recorder where the reel was going, and he was sitting at the console because we were still mixing sound effects.
Right, he was doing some of the things were being added in live.
Yeah, while we were going because we just didn't have time to finish it. And I said, "Danny, if you don't give it to me, I'm going to take this tape right off." And so he finally acquiesced, and I went in and I did 2 minutes of, please, calm down, take it easy. This is not the end of the world. Mm-hmm. We're just having fun here. And then we went back on. And then the next morning I got a call from a guy who was hysterical. He was telling me his daughter was sick at home from school because of the show, and she was upset, and he was the advertising manager for Chevrolet locally.
And he was going to pull all the advertising.
And he pulled all the advertising off the station. So I went into Warren Potash, who was the sales manager, and I said, "Geez, Warren, I don't know how to tell you this." So I related the story to him. Mm-hmm. He said, "That's funny. The guy just called, put all his advertising on KB radio and took it all off BEN because he didn't know who the hell he was listening to."
Oh, good. Oh, here's a quick excerpt from the actual production.
Jeff, it's extremely difficult to describe this thing. It's like nothing I've ever seen. Wait a minute. Irv, are you there? Irv? Jeff, it has just knocked the communication towers off the telephone building. Irv, be very, very careful now. They've been after communications all night. That's what they've been destroying all the way down the line. You're in the communications center there for the county in the city hall there. You better get out of there as quickly as you can. That's all right. I'll be all right. I just want to say, Jeff, it's turning my way. Irv, can you hear me?
And there's I have chills, and we know
you killed her. I know we're both sitting here just hunching our shoulders because you just killed Irv.
Yeah, it was pretty neat.
Yeah.
One of the things we did was we picked this place on Grand Island to have this thing, and I drove over there, and we talked with the neighbors individually and told them what was going to happen. And then the night of when Halloween night rolled around, we had this big pizza company went over there, and they delivered pizzas to everybody in the houses and in the immediate neighborhood, so that there wouldn't be any problems. And some of them still panicked.
Jeez, Jeff, it sounds like you took every absolute precaution to prevent people from getting upset.
We had a police department from the southern tier that I know that we had notified and probably wound up in the circular file. And they called within a couple of days, and they said, "My God, we were running around calling ambulances and getting everything ready." And one of the guys walked in and said, "Oh, that's just KB. They're doing the War of the World." So we ordered pizza, and we sat down and listened to the rest of it.
That's just KB. Now, tell us what happened the next day. Did you hear from the Federal Communications Commission?
We did, but it was just an exam. It was a very cursory examination. They never really gave us a hard time about it because we had so much documentation about what we had done to prevent any kind of a panic.
Yeah, it's really, and it's almost impossible to do what you did without having some people take it seriously.
Well, I suppose primarily because KB Signal reached up and down, 7 different states or the entire eastern seaboard and all of Sweden. But we did the best we could in trying to allay people's fears. In future years, when we would rebroadcast it, we had college stations hooking on a network.
Okay.
And they would pick it up and carry it. And, of course, that kind of perpetuated the hysteria thing in the local areas where it had not been that familiar.
Now, how many years did you run it? I mean, the original was 32 years, the 32nd anniversary, 1968. No, this is the 32nd anniversary of when you ran it, but it was the 30th anniversary, 1968, the first time you ran this. How many years did you keep running it?
We ran it for about 3 years after that. Sandy Beach was replaced by Jack Armstrong as the host of the show, and then I got fired.
You got fired.
I never kept up with what they did with it after that.
This is radio, after all. Even Jefferson Kaye.
Well, I'll tell you, Jeff, you couldn't do it today and have the same effect because nobody would believe that the aliens were coming to move into Buffalo. When you first ran it was before the steel plant closed and things were different.
Well, that's true.
And it was before the blizzard of 77.
That's right.
But, it was the interesting thing about it was that it was preceded that whole Halloween evening by all kinds of dramatizations, different products. Edgar Allan Poe's Telltale Heart.
We're doing that tonight.
Yeah, and The Pit and the Pendulum, and Weinstein and Azar doing The Cask of Amontillado. And
I love that.
And it was a whole bunch of different things that preceded all of that, so it was kind of a theme, and this was the capper, and it really blew the lid off.
Well, Jefferson Kaye, thank you so much for getting up again this morning and joining us, and we'll be playing some excerpts as the morning goes on. You have a very happy Halloween, and thanks so much for sharing this with us, Jeff.
Take care, guys. Love doing it.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
6:55, 5 minutes before 7 is the time on WNSA, the new Sports Authority, 107.7 FM. And again, it is 6:55, 5 before 7 o'clock, and I'm getting to learn the call letters and everything.
It's wonderful how trainable you are, Stan.
That's right.
We're really impressed.
And we're with you until about 8:45 this morning with lots of stuff, Monday Night Football review, and also letting you know what's coming up. Ted Cottrell coming your way in just a bit on WNSA.
Oh, Irv, please, Irv, answer me, Irv. Well, even this thing has gone dead. Weinstein is out, and I'm out, and I guess I'm the only one. KB News. You want to talk to who? I'm going to talk to Irv Weinstein. He's dead.
You've got enough stress in your everyday life. But that's all about to change. Relief is here. The Sports Authority, 107.7 WNSA, is on the air with in-depth analysis, aggressive reporting, and credible sports information. The Sports Authority, 107.7 WNSA. All sports, all the time. All the time. Always reliable and always entertaining. You won't believe what you're hearing. The Sports Authority, 107.7 WNSA.